So here's some price for Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. Presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sekeres alongside Blake Price. And let me tell you, folks, find yourself a professional collaborator like Blake Price. Oh. What a gem of a human being.
Why am I getting all the love here?
This guy is. Well, there's a little bit of a soccer match on Saturday, you may have heard. It's down in Florida where the temperature is supposed to be about 28 degrees at kickoff.
Okay, here it comes.
And, of course, Blake calls games for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV, or just Apple TV now, MLS on Apple. Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so if the Whitecaps were having a media charter fly down to cover the match, of course he would be the first choice in this booth. Nobody would say otherwise. Blake has a previous engagement with TSN. It's in Dawson Creek.
Yeah.
Temperature, not 28 degrees.
Minus 6 maybe, I don't know.
Not 28 degrees Celsius.
No. Could be a 35 centigrade difference.
So the Whitecaps are like, we understand Blake can't go. Matt, are you free to join?
Yeah.
We'll see you in Miami.
By the way, the high for me in Dawson Creek on Saturday, and this is the daytime high. We undersold it. Minus 16, the daytime high.
So just a, 44-degree difference for us on Saturday. So the bottom line here is J-Pat's going to sit in for me on Friday's program. Thank you to Jeff. Blake will have you guys covered. And we're going to go cover MLS Cup, Inter Miami and Vancouver Whitecaps.
A little bit of history for
FC.
This city, yeah.
Looking forward to this. I haven't seen Messi play live. I missed his...
Didn't make the BC Place game? No,
I missed his one tour here at BC Place. Of course, was scheduled to play here twice, only did once. And needless to say, as we've been talking about all week, a Vancouver team lifting a league trophy. Like, it's been a minute. So, looking forward to every... And we'll have coverage throughout the week here. More on today's show, tomorrow's show, Friday's show as well. Oh, by the way, Mike and all his Junos are hitting switches, conducting things. Yeah.
And he'll be here throughout.
Mm-hmm.
We're scattering. He's here.
Mm-hmm. Our daily poll question today, and we kicked it off last night following the game against the Colorado Avalanche and Nathan MacKinnon. And I saw everybody tweeting about MacKinnon last night, and yes, thank God he is Canadian. Huh? I feel like I felt this at the Four Nations tournament in that final, despite how intense, close, gripping it was. I feel like there's... with Crosby and MacKinnon, and I think you can throw McDavid and Makar in the mix now, like I feel about those guys like I feel about Thomas Müller. They won't let us lose.
Yeah, there's that.
Like they just have this way about them.
Well,
I mean, MacKinnon is sensational last night.
And I'm starting to think that about Celebrini and Bedard, too. Like, did you see what Bedard did last night?
I know.
Holy cats.
Yeah. But they're not fully formed yet.
No, they're not. But it's good for them to be around those guys because they're going to be those guys.
It's good for the Sharks and Blackhawks, too.
Yes.
If they're around those guys. So our daily poll question, if the Canucks sucked for 3 to 5 years but landed a player like Nathan MacKinnon, would you sign up for that? You can vote yes, you can vote no. Do so at the Sekeres and Price X and YouTube channels. First answer, what says you?
Well, I'm going to give the first caveat here. It doesn't sound like the Canucks are going to do that. The more evidence we get as we go down this road, draft picks, which is what you need to get those McKinnons, are not what the Vancouver Canucks are saying to the other teams. Again, we'll see when the proof comes out. Things change during the course of negotiations, but that doesn't sound like it's happening. But should they? Yes. It is painful to say that because of seemingly how close this team was to being decent and to having a quote-unquote window 2 years ago versus the Oilers. But things have changed. And you know what? If Quinn Hughes gave a full-throated endorsement of his attachment to this team and said, July 2nd, I'll be signing a deal, I would have a difference of opinion here. I would change my thoughts. But there is nothing in the actions of Quinn Hughes. We'll get to that. And there's nothing in the words of Quinn Hughes or Canucks management that leads me to believe that's going to be possible. And in lieu of that guarantee that Quinn Hughes is going to be here for a decade, Matt, I think you have to say yes to the poll question.
So the Canucks have sucked in 9 of the last 12 years.
Like you're talking capital S sucked, or just mean?
Well, I mean they've missed the playoffs in 9 of the last 12 years.
Right.
Half the league makes the playoffs. Like making the playoffs is no achievement. We have talked about this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Canucks Sports Entertainment has managed to lower the bar for you all to, whereas in some circles in this town, in this province, making the playoffs is achievement. But half the league makes the playoffs.
There are extenuating circumstances sometimes for teams where the 17th or 18th best team can say they had a decent year but missed the playoffs. But
a couple of years ago with Talkett, that was a very good year. Willie Desjardins' first season here, that was a very good year.
Mm-hmm. They
overachieved. But for the most part, 9 of the last 12 years, they've sucked. It's been 4. They've missed the postseason 4 times consecutively. So right in the middle of this 3 to 5 years. And the fact is by virtue of sucking, and of course, they were trying to win in each and every one of these years. Like that is an important bit of context. They were trying to win and just failed so spectacularly, they wound up sucking. They were able to land a player like Quinn Hughes. And then they were unable to build a contender around Quinn Hughes. So that's what had me leaning no because of the history of this franchise and how it's managed. But the fact of the matter is, players like Nathan MacKinnon, they almost always deliver a Stanley Cup. We have talked about it in the past. It is a short list in NHL history of superstars, and I think we can say Nathan MacKinnon is a superstar, right? He's won a league MVP.
Yep.
That have not ultimately triumphed for the game's greatest prize and the Stanley Cup. Connor McDavid is a living, breathing example, but he's got a lot of runway left. Previous to that, you're looking at, like, with a bullet, number 1 centerman, one of the best scorers in the NHL. It's Marcel Dion.
Yeah.
It's Dale Hawerchuk. Henrik Sedin, if you want to put Hank in that category, didn't have quite the same window or peak, length of peak.
We're talking a handful, maybe if you lower your standards, maybe 2 handfuls in the course of league history.
Right.
Yeah.
Or at very least since we moved from original six to a bigger field. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah. If to see a player like that in Vancouver, number 1 centerman, one of the league's best scorers, I'd do the trade-off.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd like this team to be owned and managed more competently than it has been.
We've been here for a while. Canuck fans have been here for 5 decades plus now. And they've seen a lot of losing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the truth of you talk about the recent history. If we went back through the annals of time, good seasons to very poor seasons, it's not a good ratio.
No.
Very poor winning the race by a wide margin. So,
and that is also,
if you said 3 more of those to pick up a bunch of good players, and again, this is a pretty good draft at the top. You don't need the first pick. First 4 or 5 picks are going to get a really good player.
Now, what I will say, there is a school of thought that even the best defenseman of a Quinn Hughes order tend to break through and win cups too.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue the Canucks have actually pulled quite a trick here to have a player of this order and not got past the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Or Lidstrom, Robinson, Potvin, Coffey, McInnes, Leach, Pronger, all won cups.
Mm-hmm.
Bork ultimately won a cup, but he required the trade to Colorado and joining what was an exceptional team to get there.
I mean,
but again, most defensemen, if you're willing to put Quinn Hughes into that category, and of course we have gone through these milestones, these signposts of, he's one of 5 defensemen to get this many points in this many games to start a career, or this many points by this age, sort of thing. Quinn Hughes has been in this sort of company with some of the best defensemen in the annals of NHL history. Yeah, Cale Makar's got a cup too.
Best or Norris Trophy winners to not win a Stanley Cup is a short list. Yossi. Erik Karlsson doesn't have a cup, does he?
I don't believe so.
No.
Because he wasn't with Pittsburgh. Certainly not.
Yossi, Karlsson. Who else of late? That's pretty much it. Adam Fox.
Yeah. But again, guy's still with runway.
Yeah, Fox has got tons of runway.
Yeah. Probably not with the Rangers and Predators, but they could very easily been.
But down the list, Makar, Hedman, Burns, Doughty, Keith, Lidstrom. There's Subban, another one that didn't, but yeah, generally you're in pretty good hands.
Okay. So you can vote at Sekerson Price X and on YouTube. Top story brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery, Roster Moose. Today, tomorrow, and the future. The Canucks send Elias Pettersson, EPD, down to Abbotsford today. On the surface, that is a very disappointing development for a young player who had won over Canucks fans last season with his physicality. He has been underwhelming this year. I think, objectively speaking, you have to concede that.
Mm-hmm.
Right from the jump at training camp, he was dispatched to that game where all the ragtags and hopefuls were. And we're like, really? They're putting EPD in that lineup? It suggested the Canucks weren't exactly ecstatic with his summer. He hasn't played as much as I think some expected that he would play this year. He was healthy scratch last night. He's only crested 15 minutes of ice time in 7 of 24 games this year, Blake.
Yeah.
So he's not even a well-used third-pair guy.
The only thing that matches his fall from grace here, Matt, is the ascension. And it leads you to believe that ascension was not handled properly. Is EPD going to, and to be fair, there were a lot of us that raised eyebrows that he was not added to the Abbotsford Canucks at the end of last year. Wasn't added to, did he play in the Young Stars events in Seattle? I don't think he did. He was coronated. And this is a deep round draft pick. This is not a first round draft pick that should have been given that. No matter how good he looked at the end of last season. It was too much for them to say, no, this guy's done. He's formed. How much better off would they be? I don't know. Would he be? I don't know the answer to that. But it was odd, and we pointed it out at the time. This is not hindsight. Really. Not going to send him down to enjoy the Calder Cup run and contribute there? Okay.
Yeah, he played in the prospect showcase in Seattle.
He did, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was, and at the time, so Jonathan Lekramaki played in that game as well. Braden Coots played in that game as well. Kudryavtsev played. But at the time, we were like, no, EPD's an NHLer. And they sent him to play with all these hopefuls and prospects in that prospect game in Seattle.
So then, further cementing Well, I guess they just consider him an NHLer, but should they have just been considering him a blossoming prospect? Sent him to the Abbotsford Canucks for the playoff run. Made sure that, he got all the development that he can get. And instead, there was mixed messages. Nope, you don't need to do that. You're an NHLer. Oh, you're in the prospects game. You're not an NHLer. I can't help but think that this guy's been crossed up a little bit by the organization in terms of where he thought they were and where he should have been. There is no shame in him being sent down today. But it is a weird development.
It's been a very weird arc this year for EPD.
This calendar year, never mind this season.
Yeah, although for me it was more about this season.
But you were okay with him not playing with Abbotsford?
Yeah, because I thought they view him as an NHL player. I mean,
wasn't that rushed?
I wasn't. Yeah. Put it this way, Blake. I was not screaming bloody murder. I wasn't outraged that he wasn't dispatched to Abbotsford for the Calder Cup run. I thought Tom Villander stood to gain much more out of it than EPD did. And I was a little surprised he wasn't dispatched because I thought, okay, he's of the age and profile that this would serve him well. But I thought it was a feather in the kid's cap. I thought oh, no, these guys are firmly convinced this is an NHL player. He doesn't have a ton to gain. They would rather him get some rest and go have a big summer.
Well, that was part of it for me. He plays 28 games for the Canucks, and they formed this opinion of him. But overall, needs a rest. He played 66 professional games last year. And they said, nope, he's done.
I think I do wonder whether the Canucks thought he stands more to gain with off-ice training and getting in the gym and things like that as opposed to playing in AHL games. And I wonder if he didn't do enough of that, and that's why he got the treatment that he got when he came back as the team centralized this year.
In the here and now, they have 6 defensemen up.
Well, I was just going to get to this. Abbotsford plays tonight, everybody. So the new NHL rules, you can't paper a guy down and then bring him back to total cap space. We went through that exercise at the beginning of last year. Not that it mattered. They left $13 million in cap space on the books. But by the new NHL rules, he has to play one AHL game and he can come right back up. So this might just be getting him a game prior to this weekend when the Canucks host Utah and Minnesota on Friday and Saturday, respectively, at Rogers Arena.
I don't think P.O. Joseph...
He didn't play last night, right? The club's only carrying 6 defensemen.
Currently, yes.
Currently. So unless Derek Forbert is miraculously recovered and ready to drop in, and the last update we got from Foot on that suggested it would be longer term, then they do need to recall a defenseman by Friday.
But it could be Mancini or Kudryavtsev.
Well, so that is the question here. Was this get EPD a game and let him know, hey, son, there's a world where you're playing
regularly down there? Yeah.
Or is this they prefer Mancini or Kudryavtsev now, and that one of those guys has bypassed him on the organizational depth chart? And boy, if that is the case, Blake, because we talked about this all summer, EPD was amongst your best trade chips to land that second line center. Not one for one, but in conjunction. And I had scores of Canucks fans screaming at me on social media every time we brought this up. He is untouchable. No, you can't move him. Look at how physically he plays already. He's so young, such a bright future, yada, yada, yada. And I kept saying, look, he's a luxury piece because they're good on defense. He's a third pair guy in the near term. And if he is attracting this sort of interest around the league, there is absolutely a sell high case to make for him, particularly given the cost of a second line center. And we see how it's played out. This Canucks season has been destroyed by a lack of center icemen, the injuries to Filipino and Teddy Bluger, and by not paying that more expensive not-to price for the second line center this summer.
Yeah.
So this could be another case of mismanagement. And look, at some point you got to trust young players to do everything they can to improve and take the next steps. this could very well have been something that lays more at the feet of EPD than it does at Canucks management. But either way, it sucks for the organization. And it sucks for its fan base, who are sitting here considering another scuttled season in early December.
So they missed that last summer. Question is now, how do they address the second line center position going forward?
Well, then let's get into the future now. Elliot Friedman on Morning Cuppa on the Nation Network this morning says to watch the Detroit Red Wings for a Quinn Hughes trade. And the reporting, as you have alluded to, Blake, and Darren Dreger told us this on Monday. David Pagnotta told us this last week. The Vancouver Canucks, even Jim Rutherford said it when he came on out with Patrick Johnson, a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago. The Canucks prefer 25 and younger players to draft picks. They would like to reboot on the fly here, not sink competitively, despite the fact after last night's loss they have sunk to 1 point ahead of last place in the overall league standings.
Ooh.
There it is, 23 points for the Canucks and 27. Nashville can bypass them, Blake, with a game in hand. The Canucks want to do some sort of reboot on the fly. I suppose that is to potentially serve two masters. Number one, to be able to make some kind of pitch to Quinn Hughes later this season that things are looking up, but also because, as we know, this ownership group, Francesco Aquilini, don't want to do the tear-down rebuild. So the Red Wings have come up, and with good reason. They are a team in an upswing of their team cycle, right? They have stockpiled first-round picks, good young players in that organization. Some of them are starting to mature. And because they have center depth. Marco Kasper, Nate Danielson, both top 10 picks in recent drafts. And then the guy who's come out of nowhere, except if you're a Kamloops Blazers fan and saw him strutting his stuff for that legendary franchise in the WHL, Emmett Finney, a rookie. Now, some of those guys are playing on the wing some, but have center in their backgrounds. They also have defensemen who could step in and replace some of Quinn Hughes' minutes. Simone Edvinsson has been named there. Again, another high draft pick, big Swedish defenseman. We talked about him with Cam Robinson yesterday. Not to mention they even have some prospect wingers. Michael Brandzeg-Nygaard, a Norwegian, big burly Norwegian winger, a couple years ago, first rounder, and Carter Bear, who was our first rounder last year. We talked about Carter Bear a little bit. He factored in and around that Canucks pick last year at 15 down the I-5 in Everett. So Detroit's got a really nice cache of young players, prospects to be able to construct a Quinn Hughes trade. And, of course, Quinn Hughes lives in Michigan in the offseason, went to the University of Michigan. There are some ties there geographically.
There's ties to a couple of the rumors. The Flyers, because of Rick Tocchet, and there's been some reporting done on that as well, given some of the pieces. And, you know, the pieces from the Flyers would probably be more winger and defenseman oriented than they would be center, based on the surpluses that the Flyers have. But it sounds like those are the two cities and two teams that are, you know, really replete enough to make a substantial offer. But well, you know,
let me just say this about Philadelphia, and we have talked about this subject matter in the past, although more so with the Vancouver Canucks and Dallas Stars after the big legal battle that Francesco Aquilini and Tom Ghilardi had for about the Vancouver Canucks. If you're not familiar, it was supposed to be a partnership, or at least so says Tom Ghilardi and Ryan Beatty, with Francesco. At the end of the day, it turned out to be just the Aquilinis. Ghilardi and Beatty sued. Aquilini won. Ghilardi went out and bought the Stars. So there was a fair bit of animosity between the two BC billionaires and NHL franchise owners. And yet the Canucks and Stars have gotten together on trades in the past. Jason Dickinson stands out. Derek Roy, way back when.
So you're making this comparison to say they're not going to help Rick Tocchet?
What I'm saying is
got to win the trade then.
Some people will set personal feelings aside and do business because business is most important. I also wonder, especially in these early days, Blake, whether Francesco, Jimmy, and Patrick Alvin could stomach sending the coach who quit on them, who said, no, I don't believe in this. Some of their best players. Their best players.
You have to have the courage of conviction that you are winning the trade.
Yep.
And if you have that, then you'll be happy.
And you hold your nose and you make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But helping Rick Tocchet as head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, when I think it's now clear he strung them along last year before jumping ship. Although, I mean, what's Tocchet going to say? Is he going to tell them in February or March, no, I'm out of here, I'm going to Philly?
Also, like,
I can see it from both sides,
Rick
but
Tocchet
I can also
is the coach.
understand if Francesco and Jim and Patrick are some upset.
Rick Tocchet is also the coach, though. He does not make the trades. He's not on the other end of the phone.
No, but he
discussing
benefits
these.
from the trade.
He does.
Quinn Hughes drops into his lineup, he benefits.
He does, but he's the chats are with Daniel Briere, and Daniel Briere is not considering that per se. So again, if you think you're winning the trade, you're winning the trade. I don't think
the other thing I struggle with
off.
Philadelphia, though, and I've heard them, because Tocchet obviously has a history with Hughes, and it's different if you're talking Sherwood or Garland, someone like that. Who are the young centers Philadelphia has at their disposal?
No, it's not going to be centers. It's going to be wingers and defensemen.
You can't do that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because if you get...
You think Michkov is all that, huh?
No, I'm not even thinking Michkov. It could be somebody else. It could be Porter Martone. If you get Porter Martone and Cam York and a draft pick, are you saying no to that?
Yes.
Yeah, you are?
Yeah. Porter Martone's a winger. He's a would-be power forward. York is making what?
5.
Yeah.
5 for 5 more years.
That's not a bad contract, actually, for York.
And you bolstered your defense. Like, you have not gotten horribly worse on defense.
Well, York's season, his career high is 30 points, Blake.
No, but he's a very capable defenseman.
Yeah, and he's young, and he could be in ascension still as well.
Yeah. I know.
No, I would need more than that.
Yeah.
You are selling one of the plumbest assets to ever plumb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you get a veteran in there as well.
So I think you need sun, moon, and stars at this deadline. Mm-hmm. Now, if we get to the summer, the price is going to go down, and we're going to have to reconcile that, and that could very well be a thing, folks, because this is a kick the can down the road franchise. In past cases, afraid, if not paralyzed, to make the tough decisions. Jim Rutherford hasn't operated like that, but clearly the Canucks have operated like that in the past. Look no further than the Ryan Kessler trade. It eventually happened, but it happened not at the deadline in the summer because Francesco was going to convince him to stick around, and, well, we know how that turned out. Anyways, no, I need more than that. I see some of these combinations, and I think at what some of the other prices were for players. Look at the Romanoff trade at the draft.
Yeah.
It was 2 first-round picks, and like in the middle 10, not at the end of the round, and a promising young winger.
Martone, Luchenko, and York.
Now we're talking. Luchenko's the center, right? Yeah, and a first-round pick. What's up with YD and Neighborhood? And
they want to tell you about all the fabulous beers they've got coming up for the season to come. The season. Like the dark lager. It's not summer anymore. You're not necessarily thinking about light lagers with limes in them. But it doesn't mean you have to thumb your nose at Mexican beer altogether. No, they've got you covered. The Amigos Dark Lager. It's there for you. And it is fabulous to taste. Go check it out next time you're around to get the darker side of good times, the Amigos Black Lager.
Canucks lose 3-1 in Denver, but let's spend a minute on Linus Karlsson. We spent a minute on Linus Karlsson last night, talked about how he was playing so well of late. He was out there again, man. Good on him. His 5th goal of the season. He's got 5 and 11, 4 in his last 8.
That's a goal scorer's goal, too.
Yeah, I mean, he continues to turn around the poor start. He's starting to look more and more like the guy we saw late last year and during the AHL Calder Cup playoffs. He gets promoted to a line with Evander Kane and Elias Pettersson in the 3rd period. And he plays a career-high 16 minutes and 49 seconds. Bravo, Linus Karlsson. And head coach Adam Foote was saying as much in the postgame. Here's Foote.
He holds on to pucks down low. He's comfortable in hard areas. He can absorb a hit and make a play. He's gained some confidence, and I think he's really, the coaches are working well with him, and he's getting it. He's getting the structure, and he's a smart guy. So it was nice to see him have some success there.
Yeah, sure was.
And
all those things are true.
Amongst the AHLers now that have been given this big opportunity this year, he is now tied for the goal scoring league amongst those AHLers with Max Sasson at 5 goals, but he's got the points lead at all of them. He's got more points than Sasson, Ratu, and Baines.
Yep.
And given where this team is at offensively, and obviously center is the biggest hole. But I do think the power play and top 6 should be considered for Linus Karlsson at some point here regularly. See what a few games in a row. Again, what's he going to do with Besser and Kampf? I don't know.
Well, that's a Kampf.
That's a Kampf problem, yeah. But I'd try Besser, Ratu, and Karlsson and see what that looks like, honestly. But elevated minutes, power play opportunity, see what Linus Karlsson can give you. I mean, the truth of the matter is the goal-scoring totals of this team are pretty anemic, and goals per minute, Linus Karlsson is up there.
Mm-hmm. Nathan McKinnon, aforementioned, scores twice. And I saw many of you on social media picked up on this and how it crystallized the difference between the Colorado Avalanche and the Vancouver Canucks right now. But McKinnon, quote, "It was just kind of a boring game. A lot of whistles, a lot of icing, guys getting kicked out of draws. It was just one of those nights." Now, you're going to want to hear Frank Corrado later in the show because he's got a theory on what's happened here with regards to guys getting kicked out of draws. But as many of you said on social media last night, it was actually an entertaining game.
Yeah.
From the Canucks.
Like, it gives you an indication of, what the Avs are doing on a nightly basis, that the players can come off of that one, which, I mean, I would put that top 5 Canuck games of the season in terms of entertainment value.
Yeah, very well could have been.
It's not Anaheim Ducks.
It wasn't
craziness,
Anaheim, yeah.
But
the first game against Colorado was fun too. We talked about that yesterday. That was a fun game as well.
They're both in the top 5. Mm-hmm. And McKinnon's like, yawn.
Yeah. And the Canucks put forth another solid effort, and Adam Foote said so in the postgame. Like we talked Monday. Effort was not the issue against the Kings and the Sharks either. Other than maybe that Quinn Hughes shift where he's lollygagging in the neutral zone and then getting back.
Coasting back,
and it allows a 2-on-1 scoring. Well, it allows a high danger right on the goal.
Nobody around. Because Hughes could have been there, but he didn't.
Yeah. Now, Elias Pettersson, as we know, is charged with some of the tough matchups this year. And he was head-to-head against McKinnon last night. Did okay in those minutes.
Yeah.
Here's the tweet. Hamalytics, terrific follow, by the way. 7 minutes, 55 seconds of head-to-head. Shots were 1 apiece. Scoring chances in the Canucks' favor. Attempts in the Canucks' favor. Okay, they didn't score. No biggie. But look what he did against the rest of the Canucks. He just destroys the rest of the Canucks. Shots 7-2 in McKinnon's favor. Attempts 16-12 in McKinnon's favor. Scoring chances 9-4 in McKinnon's favor and 2-0 goals. So, and did you see this stat? Do I have it here? Did you see this stat about the when McKinnon's on the ice this year and when he's not? Mike, can you bring that up? The Avs are outscoring the other team 37-9 with McKinnon on the ice at evens, Blake. 37-9.
Yeah.
That's four goals for every one they allow with McKinnon on the ice.
So remember through the first 10, 15 games of the season, we're like, it doesn't look like there's an elite team. All the parity, and the parity blob is still there in the middle of the league.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we could be headed for like an all-timer in terms of season point totals for this Colorado Avalanche team. The only thing that could be a fly in the ointment is goaltending and goaltending health, because the lumberyard there is still unproven. Mm-hmm. And if one of the Woods goes down, can the other guy, stand up for the rest of the season? I don't know. I'm not saying they can't and won't, but it still, to me, is a bit of a question mark. But other than that, I mean, I don't know how this team can lose. I really don't. I think they're going to be an absolute juggernaut this year, and we could see a 115, 20-point season.
I honestly, when I looked at them, I didn't necessarily, like on paper, think that we were looking at this great a team, but holy cow. I mean, how can you look at them now and think otherwise? Like on paper, I wasn't sitting there going, oh, this is a scintillating team that is going to run away from the field, but here we are. Canucks dropped their – I wanted to get to this too. Yeah, one Canuck fan here, and very succinctly put. Honestly, just from the eye test, you can't complain about the Canucks' work ethic. They're hustling the puck, skating hard, competing, trying their best out there. They're just simply a trash team. Yeah, minus the two center icemen. Yeah, they just don't have the personnel. It's that simple.
By the way, I'll flesh out what I had just referenced earlier. Linus Karlsson is tops on the team in goals per 60. By a wide margin. 1.48 for Linus Karlsson.
Really?
Max Sasson is second at 1.27. Kiefer Sherwood at 1.26. So he's 0.21 ahead of the next guy in goals per 60. The only guys that are above him are Hedl and Bluger. Sample size.
Micros. That's it. Canucks dropped their third straight, so it's 1-2-1 on that road trip. They are 1-5-1 in the last 7. They are 2-6-3 in their last 11. You saw Evander Kane head to the bench and then the room after that skate. He took a skate to the forearm,
which wasn't apparent, I thought, in live play.
No, but you could tell something was real.
He went straight out.
He had that sort of urgent look to him. Anyways, Foote said in the postgame not too serious for Evander Kane. We'll see if he can play Friday.
Besser got dinged pretty good,
too,
he did. But he got back out there. So.
But I thought Brock was,
Brock's trying, and
Brock
knows,
is really trying.
Brock
and
knows he doesn't have a centerman.
Bit. Well, yeah, and he's a little snake bit, and you could tell when he missed that short side, that doorstep play, Blake, and he sort of threw his head up in the air.
Couldn't find the handle.
You could just tell he sort of went, oh, God, how many more of those am I going to get tonight? Because look at it. Look what isn't out here in terms of offensive creators down center ice. And in fact, later when we talk to Frank Corrado, he's going to explain to you why missing center iceman is how it manifests. What games look like when you're getting thoroughly outplayed at center ice, or you just don't have the personnel at the center position.
Why David can't be a thing on that line.
No, and look, Lucas Reichel, they tried. David Kampf, they tried. Again, I'm going to go back to what Tyson Cole asked Brock Besser, a couple of weeks ago from Canucks Army. And incidentally, Tyson is doing post-game notes each and every game at Tyson_Cole. He's doing Cole's notes, Blake. Brilliant. Just perfect, Tyson. But he asked Besser about playing center. He's like, would you be willing to give it a try? And Brock's like, I haven't played it. It's going to be different, but
what would be worse?
What could be worse? That's where we're at. What could be worse? Like this guy, when he used to stand for Nikolai Goldobin. And we'd say, well, Blake, but Goldobin, he's the defensive zero and this and that and the other thing. And Blake would say, look at the wingers they're playing.
That was always
How
my
could
case.
he possibly be worse?
People still to this day say, you thought Goldobin was going to be an all-star. And that was not my case. My case was, look at what you have. Why aren't you playing this guy?
It's so funny, huh? I can remember. So there was a year that I became aware that the Canucks had an internal conversation about Besser, and they were looking around and going, oh my God, like we don't have a lot of assets. We need a centerman. We need defensemen. And they had a discussion and took some calls about Brock Besser. And so I reported that and whatever. Some people got very upset. Some people, Jim Benning denied it, blah, blah. Anyways, I walked into a dinner party a few weeks ago and I met someone, a friend of a friend, and he came up to me. He's like, boy, Matt, good thing you were so wrong about Brock Besser. And I went, okay, so wrong. Well, he's on a heater right now. Good thing they didn't trade him like you said they were going. I was like, well, not exactly what I said. But anyways, let's get to Crave the Stats, brought to you by Uber Eats. And today we look at the Canucks overall team, Corsi.
Yes.
And there is a silver lining here. They are hanging with a mighty, mighty team.
The Dallas Stars are on a PDO bender like you've never seen. Their goals for column is just fine. In fact, it's top half of the league. But they aren't doing it by an overload of shots. They are down there with the Canucks and Sharks, who are also decent, right? But I saw the Stars are almost at 104 PDO. Like, that is crazy, their shooting percentage right now. But for the Canucks, of course, it's a different issue. When you know you don't have gifted scorers, when you know that you don't have the Rantanens and Robertsons of the world and Wyatt Johnsons and such, you have to be less choosy. You have to flood the zone. And the Canucks just aren't getting shots on goal. We saw it last night again, almost 2-1 for most of the game. They got some shots there at the end. Because the Canucks are actually decent 6-on-5. If you notice, like, they can actually possess the puck. They actually give themselves the opportunity to score goals. They didn't get one last night, but
Hold on. The Canucks are decent 6-on-5?
yeah.
They possess the puck 6-on-5.
Yeah, they give themselves the opportunities to score 6-5.
They get opportunities. They should just play without a goaltender. We're so weak at center ice.
I mean,
let's just play 6-on-5 and see if we can dominate possession.
wouldn't that be something to see a team down by 2 goals going into the third, knowing we're not that good? We're going to start the period without a goaltender.
I mean, that's a great way to never get a coaching job again.
When you know things aren't going.
No hockey coach would ever have the stones to do that.
Crave the stats. No, the Canucks crave the shots.
Crave 6-on-5. They're pretty good at it. They keep possession.
Please give us power, which is ironic because the power play's not very good, but 6-on-5 they look a lot
Well, the
better.
power play's not very good recently. It was showing some pretty good signs, but
Again, you cannot order shots on Uber Eats.
well,
You can order booze, I guess, if you're of age.
Some Jello shots,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put together, you could make
Ethan O's
shots
for yesterday.
Shots.
For tomorrow.
But fabulous game day deals for Canuck home games. Make sure you download the app today and never miss being a great host on game days. Go check it out. Maybe you get 2-for-1 6-pack chicken McNuggets.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
I got a thing or two to say about this report on the Olympic arena in Milan, Italy.
Oh, no.
Well, so let's first start with Matt Larkin here because I and his tweet, because I think this is instructive. Matt did what a lot of people reporting on this story yesterday did not do. Matt from the Daily Faceoff, and that was get in touch with Bill Daly and get him on the records. Get him on the record on this. So, Larkin, what is the actual chance NHLers don't go to the Olympics? Ask Bill Daly. Response. Quote, depends on the percentage you want to place on the possibility the rink doesn't get completed. If there's no rink completed, there's no NHL players going to the Olympics. Now, we learned yesterday that the rink in Milan is going to be about 3.5 feet shorter than your standard 200-foot NHL-sized ice surface. And it's also slightly wider. The IIHF, International Ice Hockey Federation governing body, approved these dimensions, but it is a violation of the NHL, NHLPA, IIHF agreement on Olympic participation that called for NHL-sized ice.
They built it from scratch, folks. There was no reason to do this.
I mean, so I saw Pete DeBoer say, I have no understand, like I can't understand how this happened. And honestly, neither can I. Like, we live in a world of micro-targeting, big data, like
digital drawings. Like, there's no reason it should have happened.
I don't fully understand that either. But nevertheless, here's the boat we're in. Now, it seemed yesterday that a lot of NHL head office people filled the heads of insiders and others with the idea that a shorter rink poses some sort of safety risk to players. You can see the pretext starting. That there's a safety risk because, well, it's tighter quarters and they'll be playing at exceptional speeds, especially when the best teams go head-to-head. Bullshit. All of it. What's really at play here? Gary Bettman is a control freak. Gary Bettman and the NHL don't have control over the Olympic ice hockey tournament. That burns them. Gary hates the Olympics because every 4 years he has to hear about how great the games were at the Olympics and they're not under the NHL umbrella.
Bigger than that, Matt. They don't make enough money on that. And they want to make money for, if you're going to do best on best, we want the big cut. We want the money. We want it under our tent, our shield.
Yep.
And they're going to look at the Four Nations face-off and say, see, we can do this. People loved that.
Yeah. For the better part of a decade, they trotted out the canard that there are so many hockey stakeholders here in North America that don't like the interruption to the NHL season. When really, it's a few governors grumbling about their home dates when they have to work around the Olympic break. But Gary in the league office will tell you that season ticket members far and wide dislike this. No. I have yet to meet the hockey fan who says, no, I don't want NHL players at the Olympics, other than those who are still chained to like 1970 style amateurism. And some of us are old enough to have watched the Olympics in the 80s, and really it was not nearly the compelling event that the NHL players at the Olympics
and so
put on.
Matt,
Miracle and ice
the building will get done. They will play the games in that building.
I would think.
Now,
and even if it isn't, Blake, there are other NHL-sized ice surfaces and arenas around Italy. You know, deliver the event you promised to fans and to these NHL players who desperately want to play.
There was talk about moving, if they wasn't done, that they would actually move the hockey tournament outside of Italy because they don't think there is a suitable rink, but they would keep it in Europe, but just it would be outside of Italy. But the whole point is I'm making here is even if you give the notion that it's 99% likely they're still going to play the games there. Generally, what you would see with that question posed to Bill Daly is, I mean, of course, we have a deal. It's going to happen because he knows this too. He's not the only one that sees this. They're like, it's still going to be played there. The fact that he gives a non-blow-off answer, because it should have been a blow-off answer. Yes, the players are going. We've got a signed deal. The rink will get done. They're going to be playing there. The fact that he gave a non-answer to that means they don't want it there.
Means they're control freaks. They like to flex their power.
But they're still clinging to hope that they might be able to wriggle free from this, I think.
And does that not say it all about the wrong guys who are running this sport?
Yeah, they're beholden to the National Hockey League and not to hockey.
That's
they're beholden
right.
to the
and
National
they have
Hockey.
made that very clear. Yeah. Every time Gary's been asked about bigger, broader issues, he likes to bring the discussion narrower into his fiefdom of the NHL. Oh, USA Hockey, Hockey Canada, they should be responsible for. I remember the concussions debate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Anytime Gary was asked about concussions, he tried to kick it to the federations. He has abjectly refused to serve as a leader for the sport, for the fans, for anyone other than the 30 governors, who's now 32, who sit around his table. And that's been his failure as a leader, to not understand, no, you've got a broader responsibility, Gary. No. Money, 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 control, control, control.
Now, of course,
power.
In soccer, it's gone to the other end, to where FIFA might think they are bigger than the United Nations and everybody. But I'll say this.
We have, Blake, we have given them our sovereignty on bylaws for next year's.
Yeah. So,
like, what do you want if we come to your town? We would like to enforce your bylaws. Where do we sign up?
So the pendulum swung too far in
Probably.
that case. But the leagues do respect the governance of FIFA. Ground. Like they yes. Leagues do not think them above FIFA by any stretch of the imagination.
No. Well, because they know how big the World Cup is.
Yeah.
They know their place.
But even down to a club level,
Gary, I think it's competitive. He's like, fuck, like we've got hockey fans who come out of these gold medal games, Canada, the U.S., talking about how those are the best games they have ever seen, and they're not NHL games, and I think he's sour about
But even at a club level, from the Whitecaps to Bayern Munich, if a player gets called away to international duty,
they go.
They go.
I know, even for important, like...
Yeah, and the clubs know.
Yeah. Let's get to today's menu. It's brought to you by Greta. A fantastic spot to catch all the games home and away because you were, or to pregame, postgame because you were steps from the arena or the stadium. If you need a venue for a social event, check out Greta. Can also tell you that we will be having a watch party at Greta. This will be our second one of the year. I'm allowed to say this now, right?
I don't know.
I'm always unclear on whether or not. The Army Christmas party. Saturday, December 20th at Greta. This is 50 West Cordova. We're going to have some fun. We're going to watch some hockey. David Quadrelli typically has some skill testing trivia questions with some prizes available.
And it's another chance for you to wear the Harrison Price ugly sweater. Ugly Christmas sweater.
I have a shirt made to look like an ugly Christmas
sweater.
That's what I mean. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I trot those out a few times here. So come join us at Greta 50 West Cordova, and gretabar.com. We'll talk to Frank Corrado here on a number of Vancouver Canucks-related topics, but also on, fishing out Montreal Canadiens, Detroit Red Wings, interest in Canucks players, who they got. And Ben Steiner is going to join us from Northern Football. Ben is a Vancouver guy, a longtime Whitecaps supporter, season ticket holder, and Ben has covered MLS for a number of years. He knows all the teams inside and out, pointing forward to this Inter-Miami and Vancouver match on Saturday.
It was Sports Illustrated now, yeah.
Yeah, also some big signings in Major League Baseball and one with the BC Lions. We'll get into all that, as well as dig a little bit deeper on Messi versus Müller and the dark arts and what MLS has allowed this Miami team to get away with. All of that is coming up on the program. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. Blake and I were in unison yesterday that Canucks zig when you think they'll zag.
And we weren't alone. There was a lot of people talking about this prior to puck drop.
Plus 265 for a regular NHL game? Yeah, I can understand that.
And after the first goal goes in, you're thinking, oh, my God, they are going to do this.
Yeah. Not so much.
Not so much.
I'm looking at the Whitecaps in Miami on Saturday. And here's why. Because everybody we seem to talk to, and that includes Ben Steiner, who's coming up, seem to think that this is going to be a high-scoring match because both teams have a little bit of trouble keeping the ball out of their net, or have of late. So, just a reminder, everybody, if this goes to penalties, that does not count as a game goal. But I like either 2-2 or 3-2 in this match. 2-2 pays plus 375. 3-2, 5 total goals. This is exact goals you're betting. 4 total goals or 5 total goals. 4 total goals plus 375. 5 total goals plus 550. I'm on both of those.
Back to Olympic hockey. I'm more and more getting swayed to the Bedard and Celebrini both going argument, by the way. We'll chronicle that as the weeks go by. But as it pertains to my Bet365 ticket, Celebrini and the Sharks hosting Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals. Home sweet home. And yet it is the Sharks that are the dog. So plus 130 is not bad there. But Celebrini in particular, game in, game out, he's got a chance to get a couple of points. And in 3 of the last 5 games, he has had at least 2 points. I think Celebrini gets 2 points tonight. Plus 190 on a 2-point night for Celebrini. Uncommitted as to how that happens. It could be a goal and an assist, could be 2 assists, could be 2 goals.
Have you heard about his younger brother, RJ?
Yes, they're starting to write about RJ.
Playing on the North Shore Winter Club.
I'm seeing ink spilt about
I
this
saw
already.
Trevor Beggs write about him in Daily Hive. 80 points in 29 games. Now, he's not playing the top level, as I understand it, just yet. But have had a chance to talk to Aiden and Macklin and Rick, their dad, about it. And they're all like, no, we think RJ might actually be the best yet.
They always say that about the baby, right?
Do they?
Yeah.
You say that about your youngest?
Well, athletically?
Athletically, she was the best, actually.
No. Hasn't reached the heights.
Yeah.
There's a national teamer in the family.
Right. That's
She
right.
hasn't got there yet.
Okay. Hurry up. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Next time I see her, I'm going to.
Yeah, tell it. Get on it.
Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm sure she'll love Uncle Matt after that comment. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Corrado, next. Secure some price from the historic Wall Center.
This segment brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. If you haven't seen the Prius lately, you may have done what I still do, even though I know what it looks like. I'll see a car drive by and I'll think, that is a good-looking vehicle. Oh, right, that's the new Prius. Fully redesigned. It's a sports car for all intents and purposes.
I mean, look at it. For those of you on visual platforms, look at it. Beautiful
and yet,
lines, curves.
all the room with the hatch to store your sports equipment for the weekend.
Goalie gear and golf clubs.
Whatever you need, it is there for you. Intuitive dash, all the tech that you need, big screen there. It's a lot of fun. Go check it out for yourself. Don't take our word for it. The 2025 SEs available for $99 weekly, 3.49% APR financing for 64 months with $3,600 down, and it includes a $3,000 discount. How about that? Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today.
Frank Corrado is a former Vancouver Canuck. He's a TSN hockey analyst, and he's a peacemaker between Zach Kassian and Kevin Bieksa in elevators.
He is indeed. We had a chat with Mr. Duthie
We're springing
yesterday.
this on Frank. We gave him no forewarning of this, but we had Duthie on the show yesterday and the Certified Beauties book. And we're like, okay, well, what kind of Vancouver Canucks stories are in the book? And, well, he had one about Frank Corrado. We got the clip here, Mike. Are we going to play Frank the clip?
Like your typical Rocky Balboa, blackest of black eyes. And the next day they have their exit meetings. And so he's got to go in and sit down with Mike Gillis. And Mike Gillis knows that Frankie Corrado didn't get a black eye from a high stick or whatever in the series. He watched the games. And so this rookie who's been there for a week, basically, or 2 weeks, has to sit down with Mike Gillis with this complete black eye. He said, by the way, Gillis handled it, didn't really say anything. He wasn't sure if Gillis knew or didn't know, if somebody told him. He says Gillis made some sort of sly remark at the end, like, watch yourself in elevators.
A heavyweight tilt in an elevator.
What's the story here, Corrado?
Man, what a night that was. I got to give you a little bit of context here. And Bieksa has told this story on other podcasts before, so it's definitely been out there. But for those that don't know, it was after the San Jose series where we lost in 4. And listen, everyone likes to have a few libations after you lose. It's kind of normal.
Close it out. Yeah.
But I'm, picture me 2-3 weeks prior to this, living in a billet house in Kitchener, basically sheltered. And we fast forward 3 weeks. I've now played 7 NHL games. I'm living in downtown Vancouver. I'm at, certain establishments in the city there, AKA the Roxy and other places like that. And this is our, we're out. And for some reason, Kassian and Bieksa had been going at it all night, just jawing at each other, chirping at each other. And the way both those guys are, they're not going to let up in any way.
No.
So I guess we were going to some kind of after party, something like that. And we were in an elevator, the 4 of us, me, Cass, Juice, and Andrew Ebbett. And for some reason, it all boiled over in this elevator as we are going up. And now they're going at it big time, swinging, punches, grabbing each other. And me and Ebbett are in the middle of it trying to break it up. As this is happening, the elevator
stalls.
It stops because
you guys are shaking it. There's 7,000 pounds shaking the elevator, probably.
There's 200 times 4. There's 800 pounds in there, shaking, throwing punches, kind of getting wild. So as the elevator stalls, we realize it's stalled. I'm in the middle of it. I eat a punch, and I'm pretty sure it was a Kassian punch, and I eat this thing right to the eye.
My mouth hurts.
And so now, I'm kind of shaken up. We get we have to get them to help us in the elevator to get to a floor where we can get off, right? Because if you're halfway in between, you can't get off that thing. It's dangerous to slide through. So enough time goes on. We're pressing the button. We finally get to a floor. Everything seems to be okay, but now I got to pick up the pieces as far as what Duthie's saying. I got a black eye. I didn't acquire it while playing hockey for the Vancouver Canucks, and we have exit meetings the next day, and I don't know, I didn't have to explain because it kind of didn't need an explanation, but I walk into the GM of the NHL team, his office with a black eye, and and try and get through that. So yeah, it was interesting. 3 weeks ago, living in a billet house, and then fast forward, black eye, exit meeting with the GM.
Yeah, well, the good news is Gillis has tact. He's pretty cool customer in these scenarios. At least that's been my experience. Not that I'm familiar with him, being aware of other elevator fights amongst his.
Oh my God!
Amongst his players. How does the story end? Does everybody make it to the after party and get along because they know they've got collateral damage here and poor rookie Frank Corrado?
Or do we call it a night at that point?
So no after party at that point. We're probably deep into the night. We're 4 a.m. for sure. Between 3 and 4 a.m. So no after party. Everything kind of cooled off. Juice went home, Cass went home, but Cass was definitely still a little fired up. So I remember shooting Juice a note hey bud, I know you're walking home, just keep a lookout because the big cat's on the loose out there.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Crazy eyes coming through the alley.
Well, we said to Duthie yesterday, I know Kevin's tough. He's Hamilton tough, but good God, Kassian, what are you thinking?
And before, Cass looked crazy with the shaved head, but when he didn't have the shaved head, that afro of his was all sorts of wow.
Ogie Oglethorpe, right?
Yeah, he was Oglethorpe. He was.
It was
crazy.
I Afraidy-esque like
Yeah.
Skull it kind of Iafrate-esque. So that was like a little bit of a, call it an introduction or a crash course to life in the NHL, but I didn't really have that on my bingo card.
No, I don't think so.
By the way, buy James Duthie's book. He needs the money.
We're worried about him. We're worried about him.
He's working it. Let's help James make money.
He should make a couple of appearances on other podcasts to try to sell this book.
He was very organized, I must say, yesterday when he came on the show. Did you catch the Canucks game last night?
So I caught like pieces of it and watched the recap today. And I think it goes without saying, teams at this point in the season are happy to be in the fight against the Colorado Avalanche. Like, that's just the reality of how good they are at this point. And like Vancouver losing 3-1. Yeah, they're right there in this game. There's a lot of teams that would be like to be right there with the Colorado Avalanche. They're in a class and a league of their own, but that's a tough team to beat. I don't care how well you're playing, how bad you're playing. They're a wagon right now.
I thought it was funny because I thought it was a decent game. I thought the Canucks played okay.
It was a very good game.
And McKinnon afterwards, like, it was kind of a boring game. Too many whistles. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Shorty twice was like, this is a long stretch without a whistle. Like, we thought it was great, but that tells you what kind of games they've been playing. And then McKinnon's like, no, there's no room out there.
Nathan, you should watch more Canucks hockey. This was a banger. He's
used to playing 3.5-hour, 18-hole rounds, and he had to play a 4-hour round last night.
Yeah, that's right.
And like I was doing Habs Sens last night, and it felt like there was a million linesmen kind of reshuffling of face-offs and adjusting sticks and kicked out. And I'm like, then you hear that it's happening, or you see that it's happening in other stadiums. So I kind of wonder if there's like a face-off memo that went out, because if it's happening in multiple stadiums at the same time, that would lead me to believe that like someone's saying, okay, you got to crack down on this.
Yeah. And Foot praised their effort last night, and yesterday or Monday on the show, we were talking to J-Pat. Like, the effort was not lacking in San Jose or in Los Angeles over the weekend, Frank. It's just the center ice position, right? And I'm wondering if you can just break it down in lay terms. Like, when you're not good at center, what does that manifest into on the ice? Like, how does that lead to losing hockey?
It means that you're playing a lot of the game on the exterior of the ice, and you don't get easy avenues into the middle, right? Like, really good centermen. And what I mean by that is guys who, in their own zone, who are in the right position, A, and then B, once they acquire the puck in their own zone in the right position, have sort of separating speed and skills to get away from checks and get through some of the coverage that you have to get through, the different layers. Now that allows you to have options in the middle of the ice, options to the neutral zone, options in the offensive zone. If you don't have that, or you're a second late, or you don't have that kind of speed and skill creativity, you're playing a lot of the game, slapping it up the board, see if you can chip onto a puck, go and chase it. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But at some point, like, you're playing against teams that own sort of the middle of the ice or get to the middle of the ice more than you. And so that's part of the challenge when you don't have that extra element at center ice position. So it makes it a little more difficult. You really have to establish call it like a ground and pound game and be really good at that. And that's not an easy thing to do night in, night out consistently, especially if you're not like necessarily built to be a ground and pound team. So that's kind of the bare bones of it. If you just don't have the depth and the high end skill in the middle.
I absolutely saw what you're talking about last night, where, Besser's doing good things in the offensive zone. And then all of a sudden the play goes to die on David Kamp's stick. And not because, he can't do his role in the NHL, but he's not doing his role. He's doing a second line center role, and that's not him. And, because of that, I'm wondering, and it's been a dabble here and there for a guy like Ratu as the second line center, but the ceiling is higher for Ratu. There is more offensive game in Aatu Ratu than there is in David Kampf. Heck, there's more in Max Sasson. Like, I'm surprised Foot still wants to just default to David Kampf as the second line center, when as imperfect as they are, Sasson and Ratu are more likely to be able to compete and think the same kind of game as Brock Besser does.
I think that just leads to that's experience in the league. That's what you're looking at. You're saying, I know David Kampf has played, how many seasons has he been in the league now? 5-6 years at least, maybe more. And you're saying, I know what he is, but I trust him more with a little more of an elevated role. It's kind of like, there's been times where a third pair defenseman, let's say, starts to play really, really well, and the second pair guy is struggling, and they have to make a lineup decision at some point, and the third pair guy comes out, well, because he's been playing the sheltered minutes or whatever, and he's the guy that needs to come out, even though the second pair guy is struggling. Well, David Kampf is a fourth line center every day of the week, no matter how you slice it. I have seen so many times where when he was playing in Toronto, they get into a center ice jam and they try and put David Kampf as the third line center, give him more responsibility, give him more ice time, and expect just a little more offense. And it never could happen. Maybe a game or two here and there, but he's a fourth line center every day of the week. So I agree with you, where I'm like, that's almost a player where you pencil him in and you say, that's just what he is. And regardless of how much experience he has, regardless how much inexperience the other guys have, that's just what this guy needs to be. And I need to ask more from Ratu or Sasson, because there's probably a higher end puck handling, skill package, potential for offense. But when a coach is and a team is trying to lean on veterans as much as they can because you need the points and there's a trust factor, that's what happens in the lineup. But make no mistake about it, David Kampf is a fourth line center, no more than that. And if you're asking more from him, you're going to be disappointed in a lot of what you get.
It's an elevated role, but that elevator is stuck between floors as if there's been a fight between National Hockey League players. It just doesn't go any higher.
And it's dangerous to go out in between floors.
Yeah.
You
need to call the front desk.
That's right. At 4
4
in the morning.
We need a second line
center.
center.
4 in the morning, right? Because you're
yeah.
leaving for an early flight. That's got to be
the metaphor's
story,
there, right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Freeman reported the Canucks had a conversation with Hughes about body language. There was a play yesterday where he looks like he just gives up, and Canucks fans noticed. I don't necessarily want to ask you about the play. I want to ask you about a captain's body language, especially when it's a captain whose future with that team is a little bit uncertain. Because I can understand some things on the Quinn Hughes side in terms of the years and everything he's put into the Vancouver Canucks to see them once again back here in this uncompetitive position. I can also understand how a captain has to rise above all that, but you tell me from inside the room.
Here's my my view on this thing. Quinn Hughes is consummate professional, very highly regarded, one of the game's elite players. I don't see anything that would lead me to believe there's a body language issue. And as a captain, he would be very aware that everyone's watching him and he has to lead by example. What I see with Quinn Hughes is this. A, he's in the middle of all kinds of chatter and discussion, and it's been that way for quite some time. B, he's been heavily relied on here for a long time, and those miles take a toll on you in the normalest of seasons. We are not in a normal year. We're in a year where I'm at morning skates and I'm talking to Eastern Conference teams who have the easiest travel, telling me how exhausted they are, and they are so burnt because they're on the road and they're off the road and there's games and there's no practices and everyone's exhausted. It's December 3rd and guys are wiped. And when I look at Quinn Hughes, I see ice times of 29:33, 30:13, 28:19, 30:05. I can keep going and going and going, but I'll give you another example. Last night I'm doing the Sens Habs game. There's a shift where, I kid you not, 3 guys. There was Dobson, there was Ridley Gregg, and it was Mike Matheson. all took like innocent looking bumps and checks, but were slow to get up. And I'm like, in no other year does that happen where those guys are slow to get up, but everyone is paying some kind of toll right now and playing through stuff, and they're exhausted, they're gassed. And now the reason why I bring up the Eastern Conference teams is because those are the teams with the light and fluffy travel, the 40-minute flights to get here and there. You add in Vancouver and what they have to do, for seemingly every road trip and every game. I just think like there's not a lot of gas in the tank on Quinn Hughes, and everyone's going through it, but he would be going through it like, if you guys are called Cassian Plus, if you launched a sidebar channel, Cassian Plus, Price Plus, you know what I mean? Like it's Quinn Hughes Plus right now, what he's going through. And that's more how I see it rather than body language being an issue.
Yeah.
S&P Plus, that's your new platform.
Oh, Cassian Plus. You had it right the first time.
Someone
Great idea.
Someone say that already exists.
Exactly, yeah. Cassian Price Plus, I don't know.
On the Hughes front, the
Don't ask him about the Habs.
The innuendo has already begun. Dollywall's tying the Canucks because they were present scouting last night at the game you're talking about, but tied it more directly to Zach Bolduc because you watch. How likely do you think this is a winger through and through? This does not solve the center ice position at all, but you tell us what that could mean if it is a Sherwood type of trade for a guy like Bolduc.
So I talked to Bolduc about this year, and I asked him, I thought you were a centerman. Like, were you not a centerman? And he goes, yes, I was. When I was in Rimouski, I was a centerman. And I believe that was his draft year. And then from that point on, he's played the wing. But he grew up as a centerman. Is he a centerman at the NHL level? Probably not, because it's been a long time and you would need those reps and you need to know now, like, if you are or not. So he's probably more comfortable on the wing. But it's interesting that
C.
that
Camp,
name comes
David.
up.
Desperate times, desperate measures, right?
No, I know, I get it. But it's interesting that name comes up because early returns on that trade were marvelous for Montreal. He scored in 3 straight games to start the season. He was playing with an edge. He was playing fast, and his game really dipped. Like, he went 13 games without a goal. He went almost 13 games without a point, it felt like. And he has had success on the road this year, but has been, quite honestly, like, close to invisible for home games. It's the most bizarre thing, like the splits between the two. And so I watch Montreal a lot. I call their games. If you were to try and tell me that they were looking for a player like Kiefer Sherwood because that's what their lineup needs, I could absolutely buy that, because the thing Montreal has gone through is when they play sort of the bigger, heavier teams like LA, like Dallas. Last night against Ottawa was not a good game for them. And I know they're injured. I get that they're banged up. That has something to do with it. But they have struggled against these big, heavy teams. And if you looked at Montreal's lineup, you were an opposing coach or opposing players, you'd look at that and say, no one, like, outside of Arbor Jackeye, I don't get scared that they're going to run me out of the building or they're going to out-physical us, really. And for that team to take another step, they probably need a guy like Kiefer Sherwood. Leads the NHL in hits. He can score, like, robust presence up and down the ice. And is Zach Bolduc, even though they made the trade and the returns were great, like, is that a guy you can part with? We'll see, but it's been hot and cold for Bolduc. And now they're trying him on the top line with Suzuki and and Caulfield, rather, and they put Slavkovsky on the second line. But the first line doesn't have that same presence, that same feel that it has with Slavkovsky there. So I wonder where the correct fit is. But I think the whole reason why I can buy it, if you're trying to sell it to me, is that Montreal needs to be able to compete with big, heavy teams, and Sherwood can help with that.
Fair enough. Would they move Bolduc for a UFA Sherwood, though?
Well, they would have to think that he's going to re-sign for that, because you have cost control on Bolduc. So you
sure do.
For me, that would be, you're acquiring him knowing that I'm attaching, like, I know what it costs to keep him around, right, and I'm willing to do it. But, and that's, I think Montreal always looks long-term. They're not a short-term viewpoint team. So they'd be saying, okay, it helps us now, but also like it's hard to find players like that. So we're willing to spend the money. They also have a lot of cap space. They've done really well on these negotiations on these contracts.
Yeah. Lastly, there seems to be more smoke with Quinn Hughes in Detroit if the trade is coming this year. That Detroit's having a step-up season. They have a lot of young players. They have a lot of prospects. They have a need for a offensive difference maker. And, of course, Quinn's got some family ties. Went to the University of Michigan, lives there in the offseason. Are you seeing a fit there? Could you see a Red Wings Canucks deal on Quinn Hughes at some point this year?
I guess the reason why I can see it is because they would have a lot to offer in return. Like they have really good young players and in positions of need, right? Like if you looked down the middle, you'd be like, is it Marco Kasper? Is it Nate Danielson? Right? Like Detroit would also be in a position where if they're trading for Quinn Hughes, they want to remain a good team. And, you're not going to get rid of a young piece, but you need your veteran guys in order to maintain your position and your standing. So I guess the only thing is like, how many pieces does it cost you if you're,
for sure,
if you're Detroit, right? Like you have to keep that in mind and know that, like, are you going to win a Stanley Cup this year or next year? And can you keep Hughes around for a long period of time? The location helps them. Friends on the team helps them. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Where are you on Kasper, the 8th overall pick in 2022, a rare Austrian first-round pick? Nice year last year, 37 in 77. Just the 3 goals in 27 games this year, Frank. Is this just a step back for a young player who will be onwards and upwards? Give me your
he's
scouting
a really good
on
player.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Marco Kasper. Like last year when he got to play with Larkin and Raymond, he really picked things up. But he was playing the wing, and they want him to be a centerman. But he had his most success so far in the NHL playing the wing. Now this year, he started the preseason on a line with Kane and DeBrincat, and it was their best line throughout training camp and the preseason. There was a lot of excitement around it. What happened was Kasper was getting chances. He wasn't finishing those chances. But at the same time, he was still playing, physical and with an edge and doing all the right things. He's one of those guys. Like, he will do all the right things. The process is great for him. It's only a matter of time until, like, he kind of, I guess, booms. But yeah, I'm a fan of his game. He's a no-nonsense guy with some good upside.
And what about Danielson, also a top 10 pick, 9th overall in 2023? Bigger boy, right shot, and natural center iceman. I guess the question there is there going to be high-level NHL offense? But you tell me.
I think that's the question. The question is, how high is the ceiling for Danielson, right? He's probably going to be a good player, but similar to a lot of the players that Detroit has drafted in the past, it's a high floor, but maybe not the highest ceiling. So does he turn into a superstar? Well, that probably makes it a tougher road for him. But no doubt, like he will be a very useful, very good player. But if you're trading for him, I'm just not sure like you're going to expect him to like really pop offensively. It could be strong, but modestly strong.
What about this Emmett Finney, the 7th rounder who's exploded this year?
Holy cow, what a story this kid is, huh?
Right away from training camp, he went in there and all he did was work his you-know-what off and skate. And because he was able to do that, he was able to play on a line with Larkin, which Larkin flies. Like, we know that. So you got to be able to keep up. And he did that. And I called a game early this year. It was my first game of the year. It was Montreal versus Detroit. And I had someone in the Wings dressing room tell me, watch Finney tonight. He might be faster than Larks.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's pretty impressive to say for a young kid. Like, Larkin is really, he motors out there, and he's powerful and he's strong. So for someone to say that about Finney, that I was really taken aback by that.
How did he last to the 7th round if he can skate like that?
Kidding.
It was 84 points for Kamloops and 55
Not long ago.
Yeah. I suppose that was after he was drafted. Great stuff as always, Mr. Corrado. You beware of those elevators, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's your moneymaker now. That's the moneymaker. Protect the moneymaker. Thanks, Frank.
And just avoid Zach.
Yeah. See you, boys.
Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center.
And now comes the most torturous part of my day. As I tell you, this segment is brought to you by the fine folks at Pizza Pizza, and my lack of breakfast begins to catch up with me, and I start to drool just a little bit as I talk about this. What I love about Pizza Pizza is their ability to give us more pizza. We've told you about the double XL pizza, still available, 3-topping for $19.99. But how about this? This month, this December, when you order on the app, you're going to get a coupon for more pizza, a free medium 1-topping pizza in January.
So you have pizza, and then you have more pizza because they're called Pizza Pizza, and of course they do that extra large for $20.
Yeah, it's just more pizza,
and now more pizza on top of that.
I'm a terrible investor, Matt. I have long regretted not putting money into this mine.
This is compound interest pizza.
Yes,
we're talking about.
This is your time to prove to your relatives that you know all about investing. Invest in a December pizza. Get a January pizza.
And you know what? Pizza Pizza is a Whitecap sponsor, everybody. Order some in for lunch on Saturday, right?
Or send some my way
Caps,
today.
Support Pizza Pizza. Enjoy Pizza Pizza.
Don't miss the limited time offer. Download the Pizza Pizza app and order now with your Pizza Pizza account limit is 1 coupon per person.
Vancouver's Ben Steiner is a reporter covering, well, many things, including for our friends at the Daily Faceoff. He is also the host of Northern Football Soccer Podcast. We have had Benny on the show many times. It was time to get him back in advance of this massive MLS Cup final on Saturday. How you doing, fella?
Good to be back on, an exciting time. I wish I was in Vancouver for it, but still in Toronto. But heading down to Fort Lauderdale, as they were saying in the press box last time we were down there for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, Fort Lauderdale.
Ah, yes, of course. A Spanish flavor down there. We've been sitting here sort of pinching ourselves, Ben. Messi versus Müller, Vancouver's Müller, for a trophy. How surreal is all this for you?
It's kind of crazy when you consider, it was December 13th last year that the Whitecaps owners went public about seeking new ownership and moving on from the club. A year later, they've got Thomas Müller. They're in MLS Cup against Lionel Messi and Inter Miami, a team that they've only lost to once when Messi didn't play. They're the only team that Messi's played twice and not scored against and not beaten. Like, it's pretty crazy how far this club has come within a year. Even just this season, you think back to all of the things that have happened since that first game against Saprissa in Costa Rica in February. It feels like 3 or 4 seasons that they played already. Who would have thought when they lost 5-0 in Mexico City against Cruz Azul? And I was honored to be at that game as well. Maybe the worst game that I've covered because they were out of it so early on. But who would have thought that months later that they wouldn't have Pedro Vite, and the guy they replaced him with was one of the best to ever play the game in Thomas Müller? It's kind of surreal how long the season's been and just all of the different chapters that have happened within this season, because I don't think you can look at many sports that have that factor.
It's also surreal in that, and people will take whatever championship run their team goes on in whatever sport. But it is also different to arrive at a match like this and know your team is perfectly capable of winning that cup. Like, there's a lot of Cinderella runs where you get in, especially if you're facing a juggernaut on the other side, you're like, everything's going to have to go right, but it's just really cool to play in this championship game. It's not the case here. Yeah, they are facing a formidable opponent, but nobody will be surprised if the Whitecaps win on the weekend.
Yeah, there's some odds that are actually leaning in the Whitecaps' favor in some of the analytical places. A lot of the betting odds are leaning in Miami's favor quite heavily, but some of the analytical places actually lean the Whitecaps' way, considering how these two teams actually stack up against each other. The Whitecaps, of course, can have a lot of confidence going to Miami. They can have confidence going into a final, given the lessons learned in Mexico and the fact that they do have a guy like Sebastian Berhalter, who's such an emotional leader this time. And I imagine they'll probably stay away from any food poisoning this time as well, which of course plagued them in that CONCACAF final. But they're going into this match, fully confident, fully knowing that they can beat Miami, and with a team that's set up to do so. Because if you look at Miami's run so far, they have gone up against teams that tried to play their way and not play Miami, and the Whitecaps have a way, but that way fits to play Miami.
What are some of the analytical reports suggesting Vancouver could win here, Ben?
Playoffstatus.com, which crunches odds for all the major American sports league, and takes in a whole bunch of analytics, gives the Whitecaps a 52% chance. And it's the one that I've seen actually favoring them.
And what are the routes to success there, do you think? Like what's giving them that confidence?
I think you have to look at the midfield trio. You have Thomas Müller. We'll see how long he can go in this game. He's come off early in the last couple, but if he's not playing, well, you slide in Ryan Gauld, who's been the talisman for this team for so many years. And then it's that holding midfield pair between Sebastian Berhalter and Andres Cubas. Cubas has played Messi 4 times. He's beaten him 3 times with the Whitecaps and Paraguay. Müller has played Messi 11 times, 10 times in competitive games, has won 8 of them. Like, this is a team that knows how to beat Lionel Messi, knows how to beat Inter Miami. And then when you look kind of at every position, there's a lot of positions where you're like, okay, I'd take the Whitecap over the Miami player. You can start at goalkeeper. Takaoka, much better goalkeeper than Rocco Rios Nova, and it kind of extends through the roster. Maybe I'd take their attacking midfielder. He's pretty good, Lionel Messi. But the rest, I would put the Whitecaps players right up against them.
Well, and that Miami back line, Ben, too. I understand they have had real trouble with their back line and surrendering chances and goals.
They've sorted it out a little. It was a big mess when the Whitecaps played them earlier in the year. They had a defender, Thomas Aviles, who was making basically a mistake a game, and a vital mistake that was costing them almost a goal every game. He's no longer starting. It's Noah Allen and Maxi Falcone at center back, and they've really figured out how to be an organized unit. Of course, Jordi Alba, he's retiring after MLS Cup. So is Sergio Busquets, defensive midfielder. But those two are, defensive rocks as well, and will be playing their hearts out, playing their last game. And then on the right, you have Ian Frey, who recently got called up to the Jamaican national team and has shown really well at 23 years old. So this is a backline that's actually sorted it out, and it's not going to be porous for the Whitecaps. Now, you look at Emmanuel Sabi, like, he can take advantage of that, but it's not a bad backline anymore.
You have, for those who don't know, Ben has worked for MLS, and he has covered MLS, not just the Whitecaps, but all the clubs for many, many years now. When you look at how the Whitecaps did, well, first of all, how did they do it this year? How did they turn sort of just a cuspy playoff team, maybe something a little bit better than that, into a true contender? And how rare is this to see a team that everybody was picking somewhere between 10th and 13th in the MLS West to start the year make it out of that conference and play for the title?
I had them 9th, so they were a little bit higher in my predictions than a lot of other people.
Good honesty, Steiner.
I'll take some credit for 9th, but that would have been a wild card playoff game and not even a home one. So but with the Whitecaps, they've done something that no other MLS team has done. They've made all 3 finals. I mean, TFC did it. They won a treble in 2017, but the Whitecaps made the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, and then they kept the momentum going. That never happens. It's always you have that early season, you get to Champions Cup final, and then you've spent so much energy on that you sneak into the playoffs and have a disappointment. Or you have a long playoff run and you do the Champions Cup thing the year after. The fact the Whitecaps have done it all in this 1 year is kind of, it's never happened before in the 30 years of MLS. And when you look at the different eras that the Whitecaps have gone through in this season, they've also been defined by different points. That first Champions Cup tie was Ryan Gauld. He played very well there. Early season was Brian White. Then you go through not really having a formidable striker for, 2/3 of the season. You didn't have Ryan Gauld. You bring in Thomas Müller. You sell Pedro Vite. This team has been fluid in how they want to approach games. And because of Jesper Sorens's very structured style and approach, they've been able to use, 21 players. They've had 21 goal scorers this season.
We haven't done this exercise yet, and only the Whitecaps know for sure how healthy guys like Müller and Ryan Gauld are. Gauld has looked amazing off the bench. Do you hold on to that? Do you hold on to that trio of Cabrera, Gauld, and Nelson come off the bench and use effectively the same starting 11? You've got Blackman at your disposal as well. What do you think is rattling around Jesper Sorensen's noggin right now in terms of the starting 11 that he trots out? The only way you can get Gauld and Müller out there is a formation change, 3 at the back, and I don't suspect he's ready to do that going into a final.
And I don't think either of those players are ready to play potentially 120 minutes. And I think that's a very realistic possibility in this game. Right. It could be, a high-scoring affair, 2-2, 3-3. You're going to extra time, and it's still a track meet in this game because, the Whitecaps are good at defending. Miami's good at defending now, but they're not exceptional, either team. Mm-hmm. The Whitecaps are still heavily injured. I think both teams are going to play the same lineups that they played in the conference final. I can't see Tristan Blackman coming back in, even though he is the MLS Defender of the Year. He just didn't quite look as sharp in that second round game. Of course,
although he's had 2 weeks of training.
That was my next question for you, Ben, because God, like, he's one of their better players, but holy cow, did he struggle?
He did
against LAFC. That wasn't close to the Tristan Blackman that we saw most of the season.
But he got that game. That was his return game. Then he's played he's had 2 weeks of training since then. Gosh, I mean.
Benny, are you starting Blackman?
I'm not starting Blackman. I keep that same lineup. I keep Müller in. Even if he can only go 60, 70 minutes, which I think is probably his max at this point, you have to have him on the field to start. And then, you're bringing in Ryan Gauld with 20 minutes to go if it's a tight game. That's a difference maker. And he's an energetic guy, a fast guy that can really make a difference in the late game like that.
And Tate Johnson on the left.
I was going to say, are you going Johnson on the left or are you going Laborda with Priso at center?
Well, yeah, if you take Johnson out, you've got Laborda there, and then you have to use Blackman. But it sounds like you're just fine with the back line as it is here, Ben.
As it is. You do exactly what you did against San Diego. Tate Johnson managed Messi last time.
He did. This is the rookie from the University of North Carolina.
Then teenager.
That's another one too, right, Ben? Because you take a guy in the super draft at 17th overall or whatever he was, you don't anticipate him on the pitch playing meaningful minutes against the likes of Messi
and I don't love
holding his own.
I don't love diminutive fullbacks. They've also got a for a center back. Ralph Priso is not exactly an opposing player. You lose so much size if you don't use Blackman.
I just don't think Blackman looked confident enough to put him in this type of game, let alone he gets a red card in this type of game. Like, if you get a red card, you're done for against this Miami team. The Whitecaps can't afford to do that.
All right, tell us how you see the game playing out in terms of style. What do you think is going to be important, and what do you think could be the difference here, Ben?
I think we're in for an exciting one. As I mentioned before, neither team is exceptionally great at defending right now, considering the available bodies they have. So I think we could be seeing, a 2-2, a 3-3 game, and it go to extra time. And I would have the Whitecaps coming out in extra time. I think their depth is just at a different level in the way that they perform this year.
Lastly, Ben, you mentioned you're a Vancouver guy. The Steiner family is also long time supporters of Vancouver Whitecaps FC. I've seen you tweeting about your late grandfather and you going to matches from way back when you were an itty bitty. Give us a minute or two on what this would mean to you folks, but also, those who have been there beside you and supporting this club for years and years.
Yeah, my mom back in the 80s played with Scotty's Little Softies, like Timbit soccer type thing, at halftime at Empire Field. And, my grandpa supported the Whitecaps. Since then, in 2011, when they joined MLS, he got us season tickets. And it used to be that I had to answer a math question to be able to go with him to the game. I think I would probably go with him anyways, because I don't know who else he was going to go with. But it was a little bit of incentive to practice my multiplication tables at the time. So I got to go to those games at the old scaffolding Empire Stadium. And side note, Chase Stadium is like that. Like the Whitecaps are not playing at a massive, great stadium for MLS Cup final. That Chase Stadium is not much. But he would bring me to games, even if I got the question wrong. And then we started going to BC Place, and we went up all the way until this year. The game Ryan Gauld got injured, I think it was March 3rd. We went to the Whitecaps against Montreal this season, and he ended up dying on April 8th. So he got to see the start of the season the day after the Whitecaps had that emotional win over Pumas in the Champions Cup semifinal. So there were, one of those things that makes you think maybe there's something there.
I'm sure he's watching down on Saturday. I'm sure he's proud of his grandson. And did you hear that?
Even though he didn't turn into the engineer or whatever he thought those multiplication tables were going to lead you. Mildly disappointed you're merely media, but proud that you get to cover the MLS Cup final.
How about his mom was a Timbit player in the 80s, Blake?
Yeah.
We were Timbit players in the 80s. Blake.
We old.
Ben, awesome insight as always, my man. Thank you for this. Appreciate the time here. Best of luck going forward. Enjoy the game. We'll look forward to your coverage on Saturday.
Should be good fun.
Sick Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center in the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Lee. Big game downtown. Make it more than a night, make it a memory. Stay just steps from the action here at the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center with an exclusive S&P rate. Call 604-331-1000. Mention the show. Some blackout dates apply based on availability. We mentioned yesterday that Thomas Müller has only ever lost to Lionel Messi once in their illustrious careers. It's 11 all-time meetings, including friendlies. We didn't mention the friendlies yesterday. So
yeah, official matches 7-1. Yeah,
7-1 in official matches, 10-1 officially when the friendlies are thrown in there. And Messi's only victory came in a friendly. There was also an absolute demolition of Bayern over Barca at one point, 8-2. In fact, some of the scores are quite surprising on just how easily Thomas Müller's team beat Lionel Messi's team, whether that was Argentina, whether that was Paris Saint-Germain, or whether that was FC Barcelona.
Wouldn't that be something if it was a trouncing in the end? After the Whitecaps get trounced in that Champions Cup final, would there be symmetry if the Whitecaps could get a trouncing victory?
Then there's this, and I got to say, I was oblivious to this. No matter who wins on Saturday, for the first time ever, a World Cup winner will be an MLS Cup winner. You told me there's something like 24 or so.
No, not even. Like I think they're at 20 now.
20 former World Cup winners have played.
Rodrigo de Paul and Müller have been added recently to that list. I think there are 20.
I would have thought somewhere along the way you would have had a guy, maybe even if he wasn't a frontline player on a Germany or a France or someone, would have matriculated to MLS and played and won MLS Cup. But no, not the case. And we've talked about how Miami, they engage in the so-called dark arts of soccer, the faking injuries, the diving for officials' calls. Jesper Sorensen saying yesterday referees have not been able to handle them and they can't realistically expect that the match official Saturday will be able to handle all this. We know the stake that MLS has in Messi, and that has me worried, especially after I read something like this. Now, yesterday, the MLS Disciplinary Committee came down with a fine for Inter Miami defender Jordi Alba, another one of these greats, right?
Mm-hmm. He grabbed the neck, yes.
Yes. You are not supposed to grab the face, head, neck of an opponent. That is a red line for MLS.
It is, and people might see it's arbitrary, but it is, yes.
Except it wasn't a red line in this case.
Yeah.
Because as one of the VPs from a Caps supporters group tweeted, then why was he not sent off? Grabbing a guy by the neck, even if it's for half a second, is the definition of the red card, Blake.
Yeah.
You've called matches all year in this loop.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. There's a few black and white, it's their puck over glass.
Right.
It's just.
That's it.
And to be fair,
he should be on a red card. He should not be playing in this match if they adjudicated it as it's written. And
you of course want to think, everybody should have access to all players for the Cup final. Well, I mean, the Caps don't get here maybe with Tristan Blackman sitting out, but he had to sit out.
That's right.
He had his red card in the quarter in the conference semi. He has to sit out that match versus San Diego.
Yeah,
that was a tough pill to swallow.
Huge game, and we know this. The stakes were
that's defender of the year in the league.
That's right. And
being forced to sit out.
And their back line has been patchwork, and it was patchwork again with Blackman on the sidelines with that red.
It's not going to change the price of bread. He's going to play, but it is strange. It's a bit of a squiggly line there.
So the Whitecaps have a number of British Columbia players in their quiver, but there's one guy who could actually see some time Saturday at Chase Stadium in Florida, and that is Surrey's Jeevan Bodwal, midfielder with the Caps. He started 9 matches this year. He played in 25. We were a little surprised to see him play so extensively this year, but he did.
Injuries, Gold
He's
Cup,
another one of
that.
those kids who has improved under Jesper Sorensen and in this system. He scored his first MLS goal this year. We had him on the show after that. He's a great kid. He's another representative of this all hands on deck. Do whatever you can, whatever lineups we need to win Cap side. I went out to training yesterday, and I asked him, I said, hey, have you thought about what it'd be like on Scott Road if you guys win on Saturday? Here's Jeevan Bodwal.
Have you allowed yourself to think what Scott Road might look like if you guys win on Saturday?
That's a funny. I don't know. I actually genuinely don't know. I hope it gets busy. Obviously, Scott Road's for the Canucks, but if the Whitecaps in the final, man, I want it to get packed. I know if there's a lot of people there, I'll be out there. So it's right next to my house, so I'm there. Yeah.
Of course, that's where Scott Road, where Canucks fans typically,
as
he mentioned,
that,
exactly, congregate after playoff victories. That would be quite a sight Saturday. MLS saying its playoffs are averaging 711,000 viewers globally per match across all platforms. That includes last weekend's conference finals. That is up 23%. Now, that's not a great number for a global audience, but some context is important here. Early round games featuring the likes of Columbus, Nashville, Minnesota, some teams that don't have true international draws or sensation are going to be pretty. You can bet a global audience will be tuning in Saturday, though, for Lionel Messi versus Thomas Müller. The Guardian in the UK today, Blake, did a huge spread on the 11 head-to-head meetings between these guys and rank them. So you've got really big London newspapers and news organizations.
And we were told by Axel a couple weeks ago, the German newspapers are okay. And now that it's the championship,
oh my God.
Like the German newspapers are all over this.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing that press box. I'm
looking forward to seeing what
extensive.
I'm looking forward to the number here, Matt.
For sure.
Messi versus Müller? Are you kidding me?
Know.
It could get pretty gaudy, the number.
Yep. Think so. How about this? The Toronto Blue Jays continue to be the most aggressive franchise in the Major League Baseball offseason. Yesterday, they signed right-handed pitcher Cody Ponce to a 3-year, $30 million deal pending a physical. He was the MVP of the Korean League last year. Look at these numbers, Blake. 17-1 with a 1.89 ERA and 2. They got their Yamamoto. He's an American pitching in Korea.
Is your name?
He's a really interesting story here, though. He was a pretty well-regarded collegiate at Cal Poly. He was the second-round pick. Pretty well-regarded prospect. Blake, he's 6'6", 255.
Oh.
He had decent numbers in the minors. He got a cup of coffee with a terrible Pittsburgh Pirates team that drafted him. He did okay. And in his second tour around the bigs, he did very poorly. And he went to Japan, and he did very poorly there also. He found his way to Korea last year. Obviously, something has changed. There was even some thought that he might be sort of a low-cost free agent for some of the teams that don't have big budget. And then earlier in the week, that got blown out the window because Rosenthal and Pass and the MLB insiders were saying, no, this guy's got a market. So he gets 3 years and $10 million per from the Blue Jays. And the big question now, Blake, are the Blue Jays going to do the Dodgers thing where they just stockpile starting pitchers and they rest guys during the season? Some guys will get DL stints that maybe aren't quite true DL stints. They don't overtax anyone. Everyone throws like 160 innings as opposed to having some workhorses like they've had in the past. Or does this make Jose Barrios expendable, and do they make a deal there?
Can you attach Anthony Santander to Jose Barrios?
I'm not sure there are many taking that contract on right now, although Santander may be an important offensive piece for them if Bo Bichette leaves.
Right. And you just hope for the bounce back.
Right.
Canucks fans are going,
you have to.
We did that. Didn't work.
I think you have to with Santander.
It's an on-cap league.
They're in on Kyle Tucker, who's the biggest free agent of the lot, the outfielder, ex of Houston and the Cubs.
And Bichette's not dead yet.
No, we'll see. Former Jay starter Alek Manoah, Cy Young finalist once upon a time. He was part of that young Jays rotation, right? He was going to be a thing. Signs with the Angels. It's a one-year deal, just shy of $2 million. He was claimed off waivers by our old friend Alex Anthopoulos, GM of the Atlanta Baseball Club. He was then left off their 40-man roster. And Seattle Times has a piece this week saying Cole Young is the favorite to start at second base for the M's this past season. I don't know if that means they feel like Jorge Polanco is going to be out of their price range, free agent, second baseman last year, or just that Polanco is waning as a defensive player. So Cole Young, one-time first-round pick. He got a cup of coffee last year with the M's. Good contact here, not a lot of power there. Sounds like he'll be their starting second baseman. BC Lions with a very intriguing signing yesterday. Wide receiver, kick returner Jalen Darden. Now, this is a one-time fourth-round pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFL draft. He also spent time with the Cleveland Browns and the Seattle Seahawks before making his way up here. He's returned kickoffs and punts. That's what he does best. So a challenger to incumbent return man Seven McGee, who really improved the Lions' return game this year, especially late in the season. We had gotten a little tired of not-so-scary Terry and just capable, competent fielding of punts and kickoffs, but not a lot of explosiveness. McGee gave him a little more juke. And, boy, he's got a challenger here in Darden, not to mention the fact that Darden plays in the base offense. You've got an explosive downfield threat here to pair alongside Justin McInnes, and we'll see Keon Hatcher. And we owe some congratulations to the BC High School football provincial champions this season, this past weekend. We'll start with the big upset in the AAA varsity final. Here's Tweedsmear for those of you on visual platforms. They get a touchdown in the final minute of the game. They upset mighty Moat out of Abbotsford. You were telling me that Moat team was
monstrous
they looked like men.
All-timers, just scoring 50-plus points every week.
So congratulations to Tweedsmear, to the Vernon Panthers with a resounding win in the AA final. And then the AAA junior final, Vancouver College, congrats to them, and to Barsby, who won the AA junior final, and both of those were definitive victories as well.
And condolences to the folks at Argyle. They made the junior final. They made the senior final. They lost them both.
The Hansworth guy is really upset for you, Argyle folks. Right.
It was as sincere as I could get right there. Come on.
Sure. Poll question results from yesterday. Are you resigned to a Quinn Hughes trade? Yes or no? People said
yes.
80? 73. Rick, hopefully he signs next summer and shuts you idiots up. Constantly negative. Yeah.
Constantly negative.
Team's been constantly negative.
If realism is negative to you, I mean.
Pit and Pop. I guarantee you the real money-spending season ticket holders would not want him traded. All of these online couch coaches who voted yes don't have a clue what they are talking about. It's a fair point because it's one I could see Francesco making to his hockey people. Oh, guys, if we trade Quinn Hughes, do you understand what that's going to do in terms of season ticket members?
Yeah.
What you're going to hear from them in the immediate aftermath, and then, of course, you'll be sweating those renewals as well, right? This is why I wonder whether a Francesco, like he has with the whole franchise, is going to kick this can down the road to the summer, a quiet day in July, August sort of thing, after some of the season ticket money has come in.
And it's just such an easy argument to retort, though, if you are a competent manager and you say it's an inevitability.
Yeah.
So we're talking about one season's worth of difference, potentially, depending on what we get in that could generate some level of excitement. And we need to peel the Band-Aid off sooner rather than later.
So your return's going to be better if you trade them by the deadline.
And the whole best time to plant an orchard rule, comes into effect there. The sooner you get after this, the sooner you come out of it.
Yeah. What is it, for those who don't know, the plant an orchard rule? Best
time to plant an orchard was 30 years ago. Second best time today.
I like this from Jerry, who says it's now, what can he get back? Dobson got 2 first-round picks and a prospect. Hughes should fetch more than that. He's infinitely better. The sooner they could trade him, the better the package will be. That was the Noah Dobson trade at the draft between the Montreal Canadiens and the New York Islanders. It was, picks in the teens, if I'm not mistaken, back-to-back. But there was also a player involved in that trade as well. who has turned out to be pretty good. Emil Heineman has done okay for the New York Islanders this year. So, yeah, you should get a haul for Hughes. And then lastly, Yerke, who normally is calling us out on E's and O's, but good tweet, says, fans kind of lost sight of why the Canucks wanted to keep him, to have a better team. And if we aren't getting that when he's still on the roster anyway, it seems it's also better for the team to cash him in and start again rather than be mediocre with the cool player.
Well, I mean,
perfectly put, Yerke.
Like, that is it. Like, if the Canucks were, ninth, 8th, 7th in the conference, in the playoff conversation solidly, yeah, this Quinn Hughes decision is way more torturous. They are competing for last place in the National Hockey League. We're too negative, by the way, Matt. They're competing for last place. Let that wash over you now.
They're competing to stay out of last place.
Well, at this point, it looks like they're competing for last place, Matt, if you've been watching them. So, yeah, it makes it all the more straightforward.
Here are some omissions from yesterday's program and beyond, and today I do mean beyond.
Yeah, well beyond.
It was about 3 weeks ago. We were with John Shannon. He mentioned they're going to be playing on a smaller rink in Milano Cortina than they do in the NHL. Blake and I took the liberty that, oh, no, John means they're playing in a smaller rink compared to international ice dimensions.
Former
that we have
Olympic
seen in
levels.
Sochi. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
We put him on E's and O's that day.
We put him on E's and O's the next day. We're like, John misspoke. John did not misspeak. Apparently, tape measures aren't a big thing in Italy.
They're expecting the rink to be 3 to 5 feet shorter.
Yeah, as we talked about earlier and I mentioned with Frank Corrado, I don't think it's a big difference, but we'll see if it causes any kind of changes in the way that the game is.
The best quip was, they're rebuilding the odd in Buffalo in Milan.
Exactly. Can we see the blueprints you're working from? It's the odd. It's the old Boston Garden. Therein lies the rub.
Yeah. Square corners and too short.
That's right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Costs you nothing. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.